Hello and welcome to Saurav's classes again. We move to the next set of questions in DILR section. This is a question that is giving the information about two manufacturing plants, one located in Chennai and the other in Kanpur. And it is told that both the plants carry out 6 activities and they have some planned hours and then they are tracking the actual hours. And the cost for the planned hours are given for both plants. The cost for actual hours is given for both plants per hour basis. And then we can see the graphs and the data that is given. We go to the question directly. The first one says, in how many activities plant in Chennai has higher planned operational hours as compared to the plant in Kanpur? So higher planned operational hours. So we have to compare the operational hours of both plants across the 6 activities. Very simple. So you see that in the third graph, they are giving the planned operational hours for both the plants combined. And in the second graph, they are giving the planned hours for the Kanpur plant. So if I take the difference between the third column and the second graph, I will get the values for Chennai. So let's do that. So activity 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and for one Kanpur and Chennai, so we write the values of Kanpur first. So 100, 200, 150, 100, 200, 150, and then we have 100, 250, 300, 100, 250 and 300, and I can straight away subtract from the total numbers given in this column. So Chennai would be 175 minus 100 is 75 for activity 1, 414 minus 200 is 214 for activity 2, 272 minus 150 would be 122 for activity 3, 178 minus 100 is 78 for activity 4, 471 minus 250 is 221 for activity 5, and 622 minus 300 is 322 for activity 6. And the question is, for which how many activities Chennai has a higher planned hour than Kanpur. So let's compare. So activity 2, we can clearly see Chennai is higher than Kanpur, and then activity 6, we can see Chennai is higher than Kanpur again. So there are only 2 activities where the planned hours of Chennai are more than that of Kanpur. So we see option 2, which has a value of 2, is the correct option. So we go to the next question, which says, which of the following activities has the maximum cost difference in Kanpur plant? So again, we have to compare the cost differences of all the activities in Kanpur plant, and we have to do that for activity 1, 3, 4 and 5. So 2 and 6 we don't have to calculate. Now let's just have a look at the graph for Kanpur. So in the graph, you can see that the difference between the planned and actual for activity 1 is only 50. For activity 3, the difference is 150 minus 50, which is 100. For activity 4, it is again 50, and activity 5 is again 50. So clearly, activity 3 would give us the maximum cost differential. So we can straight away go for option number 2, which says activity 3 as the answer. But just to double check, we'll show you the calculations as well. So let's go with the calculations. Though we visually can find out that 3 is much higher than the other 3 activities. So 1, 3, 4 and 5 are to be compared for Kanpur, and we are comparing actual minus planned by planned as per the formula. So the unit cost for planned uh, is 300 rupees per hour for Kanpur. So so the cost of per hour for planned is 300, and it is 315 for the actual operating hours. So it is 315 for actual. So one would be planned is 100. So this would be 300 into 100, which is 30,000, and actual would be 50 into 315. So 50 into 315, and I'll show you a technique by which you can calculate this very quickly without having to go through the calculation itself. So 50 by 315 we can write as uh, 50 by 100 into 315 into 100 is 31500, and 50 by 100 is half of this. So you just have to divide this by 2, which means that you straight away get 15750. So 15750 is the value of the actual cost for activity 1. So this is clearly equal to 14,250 divided by 30,000 into 100 is 300. So very simple calculation here. This one goes with 15. So 15 into 9 is 135. So 9, and 75 is 5. So 95, and this is 2. So this is equal to 47.5. So this is the value of, in terms of percentage, this is the value of the cost difference for activity 1. Similarly, for activity 3, we have actual as 50. So again, 50 into 315 would be 15750, and the planned would be 150. So 150 into 300 is 45,000. So this becomes 29,250 over 450. That is equal to, this one again goes with 15. So 15 1 is 15 142 is 9 times, and 75 is 5. So 195 by 3, that is equal to 65%. So this is for activity 3. So we can clearly see that as we were looking at the graph, this is definitely more than activity 1. So this is validating our observation, and we check for 4. So for 4 we have actual as 150. So this would be 150 into 315. So again, 150 into 315, we'll follow the same technique. We divide and multiply by 100. So this is 1.5 into 315. 31500. So 1.5 times means 1.5 times. So that would be 31500, and to that we add 15,750. So straight away we get 502 and 7 and 47250. So 47250 is the value of actual, and here we have planned as 100. So 100 into 300 is 30,000 again, and therefore the difference, cost difference would be 17,250 by 300, which would be this one would go with the 15. So 115, and this is 2. So this is equal to 57.5. So again, you see that 3 is greater than 4, which we were also observing. And then finally we go for activity 5, where we have the actual as 300. So 300 into 315. So 3 times 315. So that would be 0, 0, and then 3 fives are 15. 3 ones are 3 and 1 4, and 3 threes are 94,500, and we have 250 as the planned one. So 250 into 30,000 is 75,000. So therefore we get 19,500 by 750, which is again divisible by 15. So 130, and this is 5. So 130 by 5 is 26. So this is 26%, and then we had the first one 47.5, and activity 3 as 65. So clearly we can see activity 3 as the maximum value. So our assumption or observation was correct, and 2 is the correct answer. We move to the next question, which asks us to calculate the overall cost difference in Chennai plant. So we have to do the same exercise that we did in the previous question, this time for the Chennai plant, and this time we have to calculate all the activities, the cost difference for all the activities. Then only we'll get the total cost difference. So let's do that. So we have activities 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and 6, 5 and 6. Now we have to calculate the cost difference, means we have to calculate the actual and planned costs, and the values for the per hour planned cost for Chennai are given as 250 for planned and 270 for actual. So actual is 270, planned is 250, and the actual hours for Chennai is given in the first graph, which is very clearly visible. So 100, 200, 150, 300, 200, and 400 other values. So list them down. So 100 into 270 is 27,000, and then 200 into 270 is 54,000, and then 150 into 270 would be 405,000. Sorry, 40,500, and then 200 into 270 again would be same as 2, so 54,000, and then activity activity 4 is 300 into 270, which would be 81,000, and activity 5 would be 200 again, so activity 5 would become 54,000, and activity 6 is 400, so it's double of 200, so 108,000. So these are the values for the actual hours, and for the planned hours, let's find the values. So for planned hours, we have to take the difference as we did in question 1. We have to take the difference given in this graph and the values for Kanpur, which are given in the second graph. So that means for activity 1 it's 175 minus 100, so which is 75 into 250, So now, in order to calculate 75 into 250, we will follow a very simple method without going into a rigorous calculation. So we can write this as 750 into 1000, so 75,000 into 0.25, which is 1/4. So I just divide 75,000 by 4 to get the value. So this would be 19750. So that's the value for the planned one for activity 1. Then for activity 2, it is 414 minus 200. So 214 into 250. So that again would be 214,000 by 4, which is equal to 3500. And for activity 3, it is 272 minus 150. So this is 122 into 250. So this is 122,000 by 4, which is equal to 5. I'm sorry, 3 and 0500. 30500. And activity 4 would be 178 minus 100. So 78 into 250. So that is 78,000 by 4, which is equal to 19500. And activity 5 would be 471 minus 250. So 221,000 by 4 is equal to 55250. Yes, 55250. And the last one would be 622 minus 300, which is 322. So this is 322,000 by 4, which is equal to 80500. So these are the values. Now we have to just add them all up and calculate the numbers. So now you notice that we'll do a little bit of approximation. So instead of taking this whole number, I will just take the first 2 digit and approximate it out. So 19,750 can be approximated to 20, and this is 27, this is 54, and this I can write as 54. So I've increased this one. I'll keep this one as 53. I'll keep this low. This one can be taken as 40, and this one I'll take as 30. This one will take as 81. This one again will increase a little bit, will make it 20. This is 54, and this is 55, and this is 108, and this is 80. So let's add up these numbers. So we get 7 4 11, 1 12, and 12 24, and 2 plus 2 4, 4 and 5 9, plus 4 13, and 8 21, and 5 26, and 2 plus 1 is 3. And here we get 0 0 0, and then 3 and 0, 0 5 0 0, 3 0 5 and 3 8, and then 2 and 5 7, and 3 10, and 2 12, and 5 17, and 8 25. So 258 versus 364 is the approximate difference. So this is 106 over 258 into 100. This would be the value. Again, we will do a fair bit of approximation here. So I will instead of 258, I will consider this as 250, and I will also decrease the numerator a little bit. So 104 by 250 into 100. And why I'm doing this is just to ease out the calculation. So I get this, and 25 I can write as into 100 divided by 100. And why I'm doing this is again to ease the calculation. So 25 into 100, I'm sorry, 25 divided by 100 is 0.25. So I can write this as 104 by 0.25, and into 10 by 100, or 1 by 10, and 1 by 0.25 is 4. So 104 into 4 by 10, that is 6, 1, 416 by 10, which is roughly equal to 41%. And you see that in option 2 it is given as 41%, which is the correct answer. Now you see that just by doing a little bit of approximation, we avoided a lot of lengthy calculations, and yet we arrived at the correct answer. So you don't have to, whenever you're encountering a large number, try and use these methods to simplify the calculation, and do it quickly and mentally. We move to the last question, which says, in how many activities plant in Chennai could meet at least 50% shortfall in the actual operational hours compared to planned operational hours of plant in Kanpur? So in this case, we have to first see in which activities the planned operational hours of Kanpur plant was more than the actual hours of Kanpur plant. So planned is more than actual in Kanpur. Let's find out how many activities. So activity 1 in Kanpur plant, planned is more than actual, and in activity 3, planned is more than actual, and in activity 6, planned is more than actual. So there are 3 activities where we have a shortfall in the actual hours as compared to the planned hours in Kanpur plant. And let's see the actuals for Chennai in these 3 activities. So in activity 1, Chennai had 100 hours, so it was able to meet the shortfall in this case. In activity 3, it had a actual of 150, so it will be able to meet the shortfall here. And in activity 6, it has a actual of 400, so it will also be able to meet the shortfall here. So there are 3 activities for which Chennai plant would be able to meet at least 50% of the shortfall of the actual versus planned in Kanpur plant. So 3 is the correct answer.